Thanks, and thanks especially for putting a picture which is about 20 years old. I think that reminds me how I was, and that should be my present for today. Yes, Luca, right? So since we are running a little bit late, I would like to ask the panelists to come to the panel and sit there. And I'm calling Giuseppe Fogliazza. I will introduce the panelists when they are going to speak. So please, Giuseppe Fogliazza, Luca Manuelli, Laszlo Monastori, and Alberto Paccanelli and David Romero. Please come to the panel, and then we will start immediately. The idea of the panel is to compare what industry are doing or benchmark what industry are doing and what academia is doing on the topic of Industry 4.0. I think that we need to go beyond Industry 4.0. When people talking about Industry 4.0, they are thinking to technologies and especially limited to what the factory is related. But the title of the session, and this was done intentionally, is Enterprise 4.0. So how those technology can be used in a wider approach, and this is exactly what I would like to hear from the panelists. I would like to hear their experience. So let me start from David. David Romero. He is a professor of advanced manufacturing and Tecnológico di Monterrey, and he's focusing on promoting the concept of operator 4.0. You have been working also with the World Economic Forum in that perspective. So David, 5 minutes, because we are running a little bit late. Don't worry, you will have your coffee break later on, but that will be around 10:30. So David.
So yeah, I think one of the things that we have moved on since we started with the concept of Industry 4.0 was that we started very technocentric, very focused on the technology only. Then we move it a little bit into the aspect of how to really make business models out of the technology to really profit from it. And one of the things that have risen over the last years has been the importance of the social sustainability aspect. And the reality is that Industry 4.0 is a technology-driven vision. So we have new technologies with new features available for us. Then this means that we need to figure out what are the new use cases and business models out of these new technologies, but it's always at the end up to people to come on and use their ingenuity to discover these use cases and apply the technology. And another aspect that we have seen, and there's a new possibility thanks to technology, is that we need to move from this bilateral thinking of always trying to make the human compete against the machine, and really looking into the possibility that now we have of combining actually the human plus the machine, and really move into this exponential thinking and this exponential set of possibilities.
So thank you very much for this global view. And I would like to ask Alberto Paccanelli. Alberto is working in the field of textile and clothing, but he's also vice president for innovation of Confindustria Bergamo. So we are going from the global view to the local view. What is your perspective on Industry 4.0, Enterprise 4.0, what in the area of Bergamo you are doing in this perspective?
So good morning, everybody. I think you are enjoying Bergamo as a touristic place, but also you should know that Bergamo is a very important manufacturing area. Actually, is ranking second in Europe for the industry GDP developed in the region. So in order to answer this question, I need to address a little bit the framework in which we are operating as Confindustria Bergamo, the industrial association, and what are the measures we are taking in order to foster the movement into Company 4.0. We are a quite strong region in terms of also internationalization of exports. In fact, in the last, from 2009 to 2016, we have developed an export growth of about 54%. And unemployment here is very low because we are 4% against an average in EU of 10%. And we have a very good mix of very small enterprises, medium-sized enterprises, and large enterprises. And this is a basic point in which we have started to develop our vision, because we want to develop a vision as the Industrial Association to foster the movement to a traditional medium technology manufacturing operations into a more advanced operation in terms of manufacturing, incorporating both the new technologies, but also the fact that we have to consider the human resources as a factor for the future. And in fact, we are working into this two dimension. From one side, adoption of the new technology, especially on the SME area, and on the other side, to retrain our employees on use of new technologies, and also to increase the number of students that are willing to then be working into areas of manufacturing. So we have done several initiatives on this. According to the Industry 4.0 National Plan, we have launched our Digital Innovation Hub, which is a tool that will build awareness to the companies on digitalization and the adoption of new technology in this area. And also we have supported the development of a consortia. We were talking about consortium before, a consortium in Telemech, which is a consortium for mechatronics. And we have about 30 companies working there and developing projects, companies coming from different sectors, which are extremely challenged by the new problems that have arisen by the Industry 4.0. And on the training side, on the part of human resources, we have launched several activities. From one side, to retrain our people. We have in 2017 launched 7,000 people have been following our courses. 7,000 employees. And in terms of promoting manufacturing into students' area, we have launched different activities, including orientation. With the student orientation, we have launched project followed by 12,000 students on merit, because merit is also very important. We have give prizes to 700 students with excellent grades, and on alternanza scuola-lavoro, allowing 24,000 students to work in our companies during periods along the year, to learn about manufacturing, to learn about the different characteristics of manufacturing. I went fast, but I don't know.
I think that Alberto gave a very good example on how industry can, or companies can have an active role in this, in fostering Industry 4.0. And I really enjoy the fact that you are, even though there is a very low unemployment rate, you are keeping the young people, educating young people to sustain.
Absolutely.
The long perspective of the company itself. Yes.
Actually, we started more than 10 years ago promoting a science festival called Bergamo Scienza, which the aim of that was really to send a message to the young students that science is important, and you don't need only to do classic lyceum, but you can do also engineering and other scientific path.
Thank you very much. Professor Monostori, he's a full professor at Budapest University of Technology and Economics, and also you are the director of the Research Institute on Computer Science and Control, and you have been also former president of the International Academics and on production engineering. Laszlo, what is your perspective on the Enterprise 4.0 and what you or the organizations you have been working in has been doing in this topic in the past or at the moment?
Thank you, Marco. I represent a research institute of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, and usually we are measured by scientific KPIs, number of quality of publications, citations, and so on. But at the same time, we are engineers. That means we would like to use our results into industry, transfer our results into industry. And several years ago, we started to think how to do it best, and we started to follow the German pattern, that means the Fraunhofer Society, and in 2002 we established a virtual institute with one of the production-related institutes of Fraunhofer in Stuttgart. And 2010 we established a so-called Fraunhofer Project Center in Hungary in order to learn from how Fraunhofer, which is perhaps one of the most successful applied-oriented research institutions in the world, how to transfer the result into the industry. I would like to tell you that from 2010 we went over a very successful period. We visited nearly 200 firms in Hungary, sometimes together with our German and Austrian friends, sometimes only from Hungarian side, initiated a number of projects. And in 2017 we started a big European project called Team. The call was called Teaming. That means to establish a new center of excellences in countries which are innovation point of view not so highly developed, or strengthening existing ones. And our institute gained the European Center of Excellence starting in 2001. That means in one direction we included in the proposal that we would like to strengthen the Center of Excellence, and on the other hand, together with Fraunhofer, establish a new one, a new legal entity. And exactly this year we established an EPIC InnoLabs non-profit LTD together with Fraunhofer, owned by our institute and Fraunhofer together. My friend and colleague Botond Kádár is the CEO of this new establishment. That means we work for industry. But this is not only the only direction. In 2016, we established the Hungarian Industry 4.0 National Technology Platform. And within some months, the number of members achieved the number of 100. And at the end of the last year, we transformed this organization into a legal entity. Now we run the Industry 4.0 National Technology Platform Association with about 100 members. Many of them are SMEs. Telling the truth, if you consider the Hungarian industrial export, the level of high technology, ratio of high technology products in Europe, we are, according to some measures, number 3 in Europe. But if we consider the innovation capacity of the small and medium-sized enterprises, we are also number 3, but from behind. That means we have a big task to increase the innovation capacity of SMEs. So these are the main issues, and in this national platform we wrote the Industry 4.0 strategy for the Hungarian government, which will be realized soon. But even in the last year, the government started to establish some pilot factories of different kinds. Even our institute established 2 pilot factories, one in Budapest, one in Győr, near to the Austrian border, near to the Audi Hungaria. And some high-level industry firm opened their door with the support of the government to invite SMEs and even students to visit some part of the factories where Industry 4.0 related issues are running. That means another remark that according to a survey we made in Hungary, and it was a huge survey with 99 questions, and we have received more than 130 fully filled-in answers. One of the main points is the education. education from the low level to the high level and the continuous education. That means even in the form of this newly established LTD, one of the main issues is to offer education for industrial firms and people. Thank you.
So education seems to be a common topic from all of you, and I will go back to this point later on in the second round. Let me give the word to Giuseppe Fogliazza. You are director of the Machining Center Engineering, which is a software division of MCM, which is an Italian leader in machine tool builder. But here today you are representing our national cluster on an intelligent factory, since you are one of the members of the board. What the cluster is doing in Italy, and what you think are the lesson learned from the cluster, which could be shared with our friends in the audience.
Yes, just a few words about the cluster I'm representing. The cluster, National Technological Cluster on Intelligent Factories, has been established as a non-profit association in 2012, answering to a call from the Ministry of Research and University to create entities that were capable to represent major partners for the ministry itself to drive and to orient research and innovation strategies to transform various industrial sectors. And we have taken this task very seriously, and since then we have been actively developing road mapping and initiative to orient the transformation of the Italian manufacturing sector, as well to make events and any effort to create a stable, bounded community for manufacturing, as well as to connect national and regional research policies with international ones. The idea behind clusters seems good because it addresses a weak point of Italy way of doing things. It is the capacity to share vision, to move in the same direction, to act as an integrated system. And thanks to the activity that cluster, there are 12 of these clusters so far, thanks to this activity, clusters have been recognized and they have been mentioned in the National Research Program 2015-2020. This is good for the need of having someone taking care of road mapping activity. And even better, the ministry and national government decided to put some resource to support their activities that up to now has been performed on a voluntary basis. The cluster count for around 300 associated, most important university and research institution, but also category associations and local authorities. We have 7 regions around the table. But the industrial part is represented by around 200 companies. 70% of them are SMEs. So this represents a first nucleus of, that can work actively, trying to share a common vision on the way manufacturing is going. All the components are represented inside the organism that drive the association, and not by accident, Professor Taisch Marco is the elected representative of the research institution, as I am elected representative of big industries. This organism is led by the president of the cluster. I want to mention Mr. Gianluigi Viscardi. It's the founder and the president of Cosberg, a company of the Bergamo area that developed and built module machine and system to automate the assembly process. But beyond its successful activity as an entrepreneur, it's also a man with a clear vision of the role of innovation to transform and to make manufacturing more competitive, and it's very actively working to spread this vision through its activity inside the cluster as a president, its second term now, but also with multiple role as president of Lombardy Digital Innovation Hub and multiple role inside Confindustria. To drive the technical content of the activities of the cluster, there is a technical scientific committee, and once again, me and Mark are part of also of this organism, that is led by one of the founder in 2012 of the Intelligent Factories Cluster, Professor Tullio Tolio, full professor of Polytechnic of Milano and director of the National Research Council Institute of Industrial Technology and Automation. So, why a cluster on intelligent factories? Italy is a strong manufacturing country and we want it to become even stronger on a worldwide competition. It's the second in Europe, 7 on the world, and measuring the relevance of manufacturing on the percentage on the gross domestic product can be misleading. We account around 16% of our GDP, but because manufacturing is very important because it creates knowledge-intensive job, normally well-paid, but also advanced competencies, transversal technology that improve productivity and spread to other sectors of the economy. Moreover, it's one of the pillars of our exporting capacity and it's a fundamental driver of our economy. This, I am also old enough to remember when manufacturing was a little bit underestimated. I remember when the research program, almost manufacturing was disappearing. And I have to take the opportunity to have Professor Monostori here and the role that the International Academy of Production Engineers put together with Professor Iovane to try to call against this flow. And the results have been better research program with a more relevant presence of manufacturing, Framework Program 6, 7, Horizon 2020. And I believe that at the end the results was also the Industry 4.0 initiative in Germany, and now all the hype around the third revolution, industrial revolution. What we are doing, in Italy we had a very important program on Industry 4.0 technology, tried to transform manufacturing, supported by the Ministry of Economic Development. As a cluster on intelligent factories, we promote an initiative named Lighthouse Plant, because as stated by David, it's not just a matter of technology. For sure, intelligent factories will stay at the convergence of operational technology, new or generally available or lower cost, like collaborative robotics, enhanced human-machine interface, or even new process, additive manufacturing, and on the other side, new and improved information technology, information and communication technology, from Internet of Things to big data analytics. So this convergence, we have plenty of technology to apply and to transform our capacity to manufacture and to transform manufacturing enterprise. But there's more than technology, there's the need of model, best practice, showing the direction on how to use the technology to improve flexibility and productivity of manufacturing enterprise and manufacturing resources, starting from work with our capacity to improve automation, automating also non-repetitive tasks, but also to improve and change the role of human, and the dimension to education that we had in different interventions so far is very meaningful. In order to support this, the creation of this best practice and models to drive the transformation of manufacturing, we promote Lighthouse Plant initiative as a cluster. What are Lighthouse Plant? They are production plant, not pilot, no demonstrator, real production plant. They should be capable, but they should be state-of-art, so include the Industry 4.0 technology everybody's talking about, but also connected with a research project, a relevant research project, and capable to be a source of continuous innovation. The cluster supported the initial phase of definition of this lighthouse plant and supported also the creation of a lighthouse club where all the company participating in the research project related to a lighthouse plant can be part of. The goal is to give visibility to this initiative, to make them more relevant, but also to be used and open for education and for further research and development. There are 4 on the blocks, and probably in the next intervention we will hear about some details about one of these, the Ansaldo Energia 4.0.
Right. Exactly. This is the reason why we have invited Mr. Luca Manuelli, who is CDO and Quality and ICT and Process Senior Vice President at Ansaldo Energia, which is located in Genoa. And the reason, and my question to Luca has also many other roles, but let me also, he's part of this trilateral cooperation agreement that was launched by the Ministry of Economic Development in Italy and France and Germany on Industry 4.0, which the purpose of this trilateral cooperation is to synchronize national agendas on research and industrial development on the Industry 4.0. So Luca also is supporting this initiative. But the question here is if you can share with us the experience of the lighthouse plant of Ansaldo, which, by the way, was the first one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Marco. Good morning, everybody. It's very important for us that the acceleration of Ansaldo Energia digital transformation has been due by the development of our company in the last years due to the joint venture with Shanghai Electric first. We set up 2 factories in Shanghai and 1 R&D center, and the acquisition in 2016 of Alstom heavy-duty gas turbine. So our company is now number 3 in power generation business, and as far as to manage 2 proprietary technology and is able to manage also all of the state-of-art technology, but with just 1 factory, we need to accelerate the capability to support this mission, and we define 2 key initiatives in our strategy. The first one named Byte to Energy, that is related to the fact to use to create a IoT platform supporting the integration of product and service toward our customers, as well the use of digital technology for the field activities. The second one, in order to make our factory really smart and able to manage both the technology, the manufacturing of the 2 products, has been the Smart Factory strategy, and we have been selected as the first lighthouse plant by the Intelligent Factory Cluster. This was for us a very important plan, is an R&D, industrial R&D investment plan of about 15 billion euros. That is going to affect all the key process, all the key manufacturing process, starting from manufacturing operation, physical operation, equipment performance, due to the use of retrofitting our equipment in order to generate information to optimize assets and develop new application like predictive methods. On the other side, we adopt a big data approach to both technical and quality information, involving also our supply chain in order to improve the quality of the process and the quality of the final output, the product. To do this, of course, we have a very important support by some advisors like Politecnico of Milan, as well as University of Genoa. And we also create a collaborative ecosystem and creating a connection with a digital innovation hub, with a competence center, as well as with open innovation. We launched a call for innovation named Digital X Factory. We like music. So we have a very important success attracting more than 150 startups. And we selected 10 of these startups in order to support the implementation of our lighthouse plan. So what I would like to support is the fact that for Ansaldo Energia, in our vision, at the center of our digital transformation is human capital. We use robots not to automate our factory, because our process robotics and cobotics is not so effective in terms of the improvement of efficiency. We use a robot to integrate the capability of human resources to manage information, to have more information in the data lake, to take decision, to take action. For example, we have just developed with the Italian Institute of Technology of Genoa a robot, a micro robot that comes into the rotor of a generator and is able to detect information and to give to our technician to avoid the stop of the generator and the power plant. And this is an example in which cooperation and impact of new technology can enhance the capability and the skills and the competencies of the human capital. That is, of course, one of the key drivers of our digital transformation.
Thank you very much. I think that this is an example of the lighthouse plant. I think should be exported also in the other countries. That's something we're testing here in Italy, and we should discuss this also with the European Commission, because I think it's really good example of how our industry can foster innovation and make activities together with the research. We have 15 minutes to go, so it's the second round, 3 minutes each, and I will use the same sequence. So David, I have a question for you. I mean, you spoke about the operator 4.0. What are the competences you think workers should have in the future, but in the near future? 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. No, I mean, there's a lot of discussion around the digital skills, the next generation of the workforce, and actually the current students that we have, they need to develop. But I would say it's not just talent. I mean, there's this very famous quote from Peter Drucker, right? That culture eats strategy for breakfast and for lunch. So I think it's not just putting the effort in the talent, in the people to develop the skills, but also it's about creating this new digital culture inside of the companies and how to think different. And I think in the past, Japanese were good with the idea of lean thinking and how to look into develop this culture and providing the people with the skills to identify the waste and made the companies more efficient. Now I think we need to do it again. We need to provide with a new mindset and with a new culture the companies looking into robotics, automation, digitalization as a new wave of possibilities of creating new efficiencies or new revenue mechanisms for the companies.
But considering that Industry 4.0 is mainly about data and data acquisition, I mean, should every worker acquire more knowledge in analyzing data, taking decisions based on data, or you think that this should be something that should be done at a higher level in the company, or should be also done at work?
I think it needs to go to all the companies. I mean, the idea of having now data to support decision making, this is very relevant. I mean, this is the idea of smartness in manufacturing, combining information, combining technology, combining with the ingenuity of the workforce. And every decision must be supported in good data, even if it's a strategic, operational, or technical decision. So the data-driven decision-making and the availability of data to support decision goes to any level of the organization.
Any level of the organization. Thank you. Alberto, I have a question. How to involve more SMEs in the innovation process? Because always the large company, they know how to do it, but the SMEs don't. They should just be follower, or there should be also a good example on innovation creation. Yeah.
Well, we made a recent study, and we have found out that in Bergamo, roughly 20% of the companies are doing very well. They are on top of technology, and they don't need virtually any help from us. We have another 20% that lag behind. They are on commodity products. They are small in many cases, and it will be very difficult for us to support them in the transition. And we have a bulk of 60% of companies that are in the middle. So those are the companies that we are trying to help. Most of them are SMEs. Although with the new technology, the size is not necessarily a dimension that is identifying the competitiveness potential of the company, but in manufacturing in our area, normally so. So what we are doing, first of all, we need to take the entrepreneur on board. I think we should start from there. It's very important that the entrepreneur or the entrepreneurs are really committed to the process, and we are building groups by sectors, in which we discuss with the entrepreneur the way we should change and adapt the technology into the organization. I think this is the first step. It's very, very important. And then we have to take an approach that goes into building small projects, very focused. For example, on Digital Innovation Hub, we have, as you know, we have started with the self-assessment tool, a very, very simple tool for the company to assess the readiness in the digital, at the digital level. And this is a way to engage the small organization into a process that will lead into a decision to change. The rest, I think it's easier in a sense that financing is not really a problem. We find financial sources to support the transition. We have defined a network of specialized consultants on the different areas of the technology that is involved. In many cases, we have also support in investigating the business model of the company, because many times it's not a matter of technology, but it's a matter of the business model that has to change. And in this regards, we are trying to focus on those in the 60% that are really in the middle, that could become very competitive and grow in the future, or they can be stuck and then risk to disappear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Laszlo, INCOM is a conference of Ifac, no? So it's mainly an academic conferences, and Ifac is mainly an academic organization. What do you think should be the role of this, international organizations, academic organization, in fostering the relationship between industry and academia? Just 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
One suggestion.
One issue is to introduce a kind of industrial club in these organizations. For example, in CF we have such a club, and during the general assemblies there are separate and parallel meetings and also common meetings. Also to foster common publications. The second one is we have some social responsibility. That means we have to use the media to make the issues clear for the society. The third one, as Giuseppe mentioned, is the supporting the governments and the European Union and international political organization in understanding the importance of manufacturing. Of course, Professor Giovanna made a very good job in this respect, and also Marco Taisch and Tullio Tollio do the same in European level, but I am sure that there are other movements in different continents as well. And we have to make clear for the society that the digital transformation, Industry 4.0, is a question of survival of the firms, especially for the SMEs. We receive usually questions, what about the workforce and so on, and we have to make clear that there is no other way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Giuseppe, you are representing a company, you decided to join the cluster, and sometimes company thinks that joining clusters, conferences, or it's a waste of time. Some company thinks this, right? Many of them, most of them. What is your suggestion to them?
It's a waste of time sometimes.
It's a waste of time sometimes, but what is your suggestion? I mean, what is the message to convince them that, or what is the added value you took as a company?
But the participation of my company to the cluster is part of our effort to try to have a strong presence in to control and monitor and quality check, one of the fundamental part of our products, that is knowledge. Okay. So we need to be capable to introduce knowledge because it's the way we become more competitive. And as for the other parts, mechanical parts, automation, electronic parts, we make a quality control. We need to have a specific entity inside the company that is devoted to this role, to establish relationship, but with academy, research, because the fundamental provider of knowledge are them. So in order to achieve this goal, I think that this is very important, and it is important also for SMEs. It's very difficult because research and innovation is a strategic dimension of our company activity. And as SMEs, we are very bad in strategy. We are more practical in tactics. Nevertheless, the cluster by itself offers an important opportunity to be together with other companies as you, sharing the same doubt, the same waste of time sometimes, but also the possibility to talk to people and to try to create, to share, and then to take decision when you are back in your company that follow this vision. I think that this is part of my job more than 20 years, so I'm deeply convinced about this.
And this afternoon there will be a tutorial run by Intelimic, which is an example of our consortium, was mentioned by you as well, where SMEs are involved, and this also can be seen as a good example on how SMEs can bring value, but most of the time can have value from these R&D activities. I have a question for Luca. Luca, you are also ICT Vice President for your company, and when we talk about enterprises or Company 4.0, it means that all the functions of the companies or the unit of the company are connected, which means they are exchanging data and information, and then cyber security becomes is an issue, right? So how you are tackling this issue?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really big open issue. I think that cyber is the dual of IoT. And I have a previous experience in the defense business where mission-critical activities should be, of course, big by cyber security. The same approach more and more could be applicable in civilian critical infrastructure that are absolutely business critical. So the convergence of information technology, operation technology, force us to develop solution and technology able to protect not only the intellectual property, that is the most valuable asset of most of our companies, but also the physical assets of our company. So this is applicable in all the critical infrastructure, for example, the power plants of our customer, as well the lighthouse plant. So this is the reason why one of the application area we develop is cybersecurity in the factory, because we think that this is a real risk that we need to manage. On the other side, we would like, of course, to avoid this, I would say, the IoT cyber paradox. We are going to invest to develop with our customer an IoT platform in order to produce new information and data that are related to the product as well to the process where we apply our product in the specific environment of our customer. Thanks to this information, we apply big data algorithms in order to support asset optimization as well predictive maintenance. Thanks to this information, we can prevent for a critical component of our gas turbine a fault, so the stop of the power plant, maybe also by a 3D printing on site the power plant, we can produce immediately a spare part in order to substitute, but the power plant stop because when we have the window in exchanging information, we didn't protect, and the hacker was able to intervene in the SCADA of the specific components. This is a paradox, and we need to invest to work to build up solutions that can support the exploitation of the benefits of IoT through a consistent cybersecurity shield.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank you. Is there any question from the audience? Yes. Can you give the mic over there? Thank you. Please, quick question and quick answer so we can have a couple of rounds.
Two things. I think it's very interesting to see this. We already discussed the topic of retraining. But another thing I think is, for instance, I'm from Brazil, and we're also doing the Industry 4.0. The retraining is one aspect. The other one is retrofitting, how to do this movement from the current state to a 4.0 state in terms of the whole equipment. And it's appearing there more and more also as a business case. Some companies are introducing the new sensors and information and then selling this as a service also for the companies. Do you see also this in Italy, for instance, this kind of path?
But it's a process. There's no clean solution. This is the problem. And maybe this is a weak point also in the Italy way of applying Industry 4.0 technologies. The education, the training of the people using this new technology is not at par at the level of investment that we make in capital goods. And this is a major problem. Nevertheless, for the organization I represent, the cluster, this is one of the major topics. And I think that this fact should shape also the way to design new automation, new factories, because we see, and I can say this also from my company, the role of operator close to new manufacturing system is changing. No more operator of machine, but they are more supervisor. And so we need a different type of people. Sometimes we talk about human-centered manufacturing. I believe that this is, for me at least, is a way to try to calm down my guilty feeling of destructing jobs for my entire life. And to be honest, is not completely true. It's not just this feeling. It's also something that I deeply believe. With our automation, we can reshore production in Italy, and I have many cases when this happened. And the success of this highly automated, autonomous manufacturing system is related to the quality of the people that is working with it. In a word, the intelligent part of the factories are always people. They drive the change and the transformation. We need to provide them better tool and better skill. One of the skills has been stated very clearly by the keynote speech from Professor Kuziak about the capacity to set up a problem, make the right questions. Sometimes you find you have no question and you want to provide answer to questions that are not expressed. This is one of them.
Thank you. There is a question over there.
I'm very interested in the plan case that you showed. So my question is, from your experience, there's any situation that the company they produce the plant or the factory in developing country, for example, for Vietnam like us, you could share some lesson learned from the company here when they move from industry, for example, to 4.0. so we could learn from that situation. I would narrow the scope to from a pure technical view only.
Who want to answer?
I guess I'm
Yeah,
the one from the
yes.
developing country, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends how you.
No,
Not really,
I
but
think
you can
it's
answer.
one thing that we always need to keep in mind is that technology is an enabler. So what is really the digital engine that you want to boost in your factory, in your country? It's really about connecting the systems because you're a little bit behind, not yet in Industry 4.0, so still to solve some issues in regarding to better connecting, integrating the shop floor. It's more related to building more flexible automation because this is what it requires to make your production system more resilient in a market that it's becoming a little bit more volatile all the time. It's more related on the building that intelligence that is missing because production now it's running good with good quality standards and it's now moving more. So it's really, I guess, it's not really a matter of developing or developed nation. It's not really about which technologies you are testing or not. It's really about what are the new digital capabilities that make sense for your operating model, for your business model, and those are the ones that we need to start at least piloting because this would be relevant for stay competitive no matter the size of the company or the country.
Thank you, David. There is a question there? Yes, Chris. Yes.
One quick one. Thanks to the distinguished panel for many good ideas. I would like to make the link to a study that was produced by World Economic Forum earlier this year about the readiness for future production by different countries. One interesting pattern that emerged from this study was that some of the conventional factors that we consider, such as scale of the economy, are actually much less important compared to some emerging factors. One such factor was identified as the economic complexity, which is measured by means of embeddedness in society in terms of knowledge capacity for making products. So it's a kind of a diffusion metric for innovation. Now, Industry 4 is all about connectivity, so there might be some thoughts about that. What's the panel view about an indicator like economic complexity, embeddedness in society? Many of the activities that you mentioned are linked to that, actually.
Who wants to give his opinion?
About a little joke, I used to have a company with a German partner and a French partner, and we were meeting every now and then, and they were saying, you will be always ready because you are dealing with so much complexity in Italy that you are able to, you have DNA prepared to solve the problem. So I think complexity would be an issue. Yeah, I agree with you.
So I had the chance actually to work on that report. That KPI came out actually from the Harvard Business report that they do on complexity of manufacturing. One of the skills that the future generations will need to have is dealing with complexity. Complexity management is in those top 10 skills for the next generations. And one of the things that in the report, it's now we need, and this is really about what is really digital transformation. It's about designing new strategies. It's about managing the risk of adopting new technologies and applying them in a different way. And it's a matter of managing the change. And these three things put it together are complex. So the more society is ready to change their working methods, to change the way that we consume products. So that means new business models such as the servitization phenomenon. These are the things that why we found it very relevant on both sides. on the production side, but also on the consumption side, the market side, to consider in this report, because the more that the market is willing to change, right? I mean, this is the phenomenon also mentioned when it comes to moving into the circular economy and testing remanufactured products, repair products, products with a high degree of recyclable materials. If the market is not willing, the society is not willing to change, it doesn't matter that we have the capabilities in the offer side.
Thank you very much. I think it's time for the coffee break. I give you back the word to Professor Sergio Cavalieri.